Hello to all my dear followers, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Settle in, because today's update is the kind of story that makes timelines light up and comment sections explode. We're talking about a surge of whispers, sightings, and suspiciously aligned clues surrounding two names you know by heart, Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yagis. If your heart already skipped a beat, you're not alone, because the buzz around these two has reached that electric point where coincidence stops feeling like coincidence. And yes, we're going to unpack every angle. Before we dive into the twists and turns, make sure you're subscribed and notifications are on, so you never miss the moment the truth breaks open. Our headline today leaves little room for ambiguity: Gökberk and Özge, a new direction revealed. What's hiding behind that phrase? Over the past several weeks, social media sleuths, entertainment insiders, and longtime fans have been drawing the same map from scattered points, a flurry of subtle signals suggesting that something important is shifting between these two beloved stars. Not a press release, not a red carpet confirmation, but a layered series of signs that, when stacked together, start to look like a story in motion. A personal chapter, maybe. A professional one, perhaps. Or both at once, which is what makes the speculation so irresistible. Let's set the scene. You know the history as well as anyone. Their connection burned bright on set, their chemistry became the heartbeat of a fandom, and their off-screen bond once looked strong enough to challenge the noise of fame. Both built powerful careers in their own right. Both learned how to protect their private lives even as cameras never looked away. That's exactly why, when a new pattern emerges, it's impossible not to notice. The public is trained to read the smallest signs with them, and right now, the signs feel louder than usual. First, the sightings. These are not clandestine midnight meetings, not shadowy entrances through back alleys. Think instead of echoes in public spaces. The same cafe in the late afternoon, a private screening with overlapping guest lists, a charity event where they appeared separately but left within minutes of each other. We're talking about ordinary places where discretion is currency: hotel lobbies, curated galleries, city corners where everyone looks busy and no one looks twice, until someone does. A passerby uploads a 4-second clip that shows a familiar silhouette, and suddenly the puzzle has a new piece. One candid here, one blurred photo there, and the effect is cumulative. None of it screams confirmation, but together it hums. And then there's the realm where the modern romance breathes: social media. It starts with small gestures, a like on a candid, a heart on a throwback, the faintest of exchanges under a neutral post. Nothing overt. Nothing you'd stake a story on. But these breadcrumbs don't appear in isolation. Fans notice the rhythm. Likes that land late at night, comments that arrive with perfectly timed restraint, and story views that seem to sync up right after shared appearances. Physics has momentum, so does this kind of attention. When the frequency picks up, it's natural to ask what's happening just out of frame. Sources within the industry, those always dangerous whispers that can be as slippery as fog, have added a new layer to the speculation. There's talk of a project. Not the kind you announce before contracts are dry, but the kind you quietly workshop, the kind that requires two people to sit at the same table and tease out what their reunion could look like under bright lights. Some suggest a series in development that leans into restrained longing and complicated pasts. Others insist a film script has been circulating with their names penciled into the margins. The word collaboration keeps coming up, passed from agent to casting director to brand strategist. Even if half of it is conjecture, the alignment of chatter with public clues is hard to ignore. Imagine the impact if they do share a screen again. Separately, each has a devoted audience that shows up, rains support, and keeps the conversation alive between episodes and premieres. Together, their pull becomes a current that's hard to resist. The numbers would make any network executive's eyes widen: ratings, engagement, streaming spikes, sold-out fan events. But beyond metrics, it's about the intangible, the lived-in chemistry that never felt manufactured, the trust that reads in a glance, the familiarity that can turn a quiet scene into a collective-held breath. Fans remember, they always do, and the promise of a reunion isn't just content, it's catharsis. Layered into all this are the subtle shifts in their individual lives. Transitions have a way of opening doors. If one chapter closes or pauses, it creates space, space to reflect, space to risk, space to revisit something that once mattered. This season, both seem to be navigating thresholds. You can see it in how they speak about growth and quiet in interviews, in how their feeds lean into authenticity, in how their work choices suggest calculated evolution rather than loud reinvention. People change. They get braver. They redefine what matters. What complicates and elevates this story is that both are respected figures whose every move gets parsed in 1,000 directions. They are more than actors, they're symbols to many who grew with them, who learned to read love stories through their performances, who felt the highs and lows of their relationship like a mirror. If they are, in fact, stepping into something new together, romantically, professionally, or both, the ripple won't be small. It reshapes expectations, reignites conversations, and turns regular Tuesdays into breaking news alerts. The appetite for clarity is intense, but paradoxically, so is the allure of mystery. The unknown keeps everyone watching. Let's return to what we actually see. The trail begins with those overlapping locations. An Arts Foundation evening in the city's liveliest quarter, captured entrances, separate tables, and the sort of minute-by-minute timestamping that only fan accounts can execute. Days later, a casual brunch sighting in a neighborhood spot famous for letting celebrities be human, no post photos, just familiar faces ordering coffee. Then a private dinner reported by someone who works at the venue, the kind of person who couldn't resist hinting they saw what the rest of us are dying to confirm. It's never a single moment that tips the scale, it's the way a dozen moments start to rhyme. Online, the choreography is cleaner, curated, and yet telling. When Özge posts a behind-the-scenes snap that captures a particular shade of light known to a certain house, it's easy to dismiss. Until a day later, Gökberk shares a moody frame with the same hue and a caption that reads like an echo. When she celebrates a milestone and he taps the heart without a comment, it's affectionate but careful. When he marks a quiet win and she leaves a single well-chosen word, it's supportive but measured. It feels like two people holding the same secret from opposite ends. Insiders insist a production calendar is being penciled with a near-future window that would make extended time together inevitable. Even the brands are sniffing around. A luxury label rumored to have approached them for a dual campaign knows the value of chemistry you can't fake. For them, it's visibility. For the audience, it's a capitulation to what they've been asking for. A chance to see what happens when two familiar galaxies drift closer again. Of course, memory adds pressure. Their past is part of the narrative whether they like it or not. That's the weight of a public love story. Breakups don't stay private, reconciliations don't get to be quiet, and every new handshake is measured against an old promise. Yet part of what makes the current whispers feel different is the maturity in the details. This doesn't look like a comeback staged for headlines. It looks, instead, like the deliberate, slow-burn patience of two people learning from what came before. If that's true, then the timing becomes not accidental but earned. We must also say what responsible gossip always includes: this is still, officially, unconfirmed. The entertainment world often moves behind veils, and it can take a while before the people at the center of the storm step forward with the clarity everyone craves. Sometimes rumors simmer into nothing. Sometimes they set the table for a reveal. But when speculation rests on multiple, intersecting hints, physical proximity, synchronized signals online, whispers from production offices, it becomes impossible to dismiss it outright. The air thickens. The expectation grows teeth. For those who have followed them from the earliest days, the possibility of a rekindled bond holds a special charge. It's not just nostalgia, it's continuity. The idea that a connection once powerful enough to make strangers root for real love could evolve instead of disappear is the sort of storyline that keeps people invested in the celebrities they adore. Think of the potential interviews where they'd navigate questions with those familiar careful smiles. Imagine the first red carpet where they arrive separately and end up standing side by side for a photo that makes the room fall silent. Picture a project announcement that drops with a teaser. Two silhouettes, one piano note, and a cut to black that leaves everyone begging for a release date. All of that is in play, and it's the simplest explanation for why this conversation refuses to fade. Their charisma is its own truth. On screen, it reads with a force that directors can't teach. Off-screen, it underlines even their quietest choices. The closeness that once was didn't feel like a performance. It felt lived in, textured, built on the kind of glances that know too much. If a new direction is truly unfolding now, it would be a continuation rather than a reinvention, a mature chapter written by two people who have learned how to carry fame without letting it corrode what's personal. So what can we responsibly conclude? There is energy. There is movement. The clues point toward a renewed closeness between Gökberk Demirci and Özge Yagais. Whether that closeness becomes a publicly confirmed romance, an artistic collaboration designed to channel their shared magnetism, or a carefully balanced version of both, the horizon looks eventful. They are not rushing to define it for anyone else, which, ironically, might be the strongest sign that something valuable is being protected and nurtured. We'll keep watching the overlapping maps. The unplanned cameos in each other's orbits, the controlled leaks about scripts and schedules, the tiny echoes that bounce between their posts. We'll keep listening to the corridors where agents and producers trade careful sentences and where the word soon says more than usual. And we will be here when silence finally gives way to shape, ready to celebrate the reveal or appreciate the restraint if the story remains theirs alone. That's our deep dive for today, and what a ride it's been. We traced the sightings, decoded the social cues, weighed the insider murmurs, and imagined how a personal turn could spill gracefully into a professional reunion. If there is a new chapter starting for these two, it already has a tone, quiet, deliberate, hopeful. The industry is alert, the fans are alert, and the narrative is poised for whatever comes next. Now it's your turn. What did you pick up that others might have missed? Which clue feels most compelling to you? Do you believe we're looking at a love story returning to the foreground, a strategic collaboration that will own the season, or a bit of both braided together? Drop your thoughts below, because your theories give this conversation its spark. And if you enjoyed this thoughtful yet juicy breakdown, support the work by liking, sharing, and making sure you're subscribed to Turkish Spotlight Secrets with notifications on. However the truth lands, you know we'll be right here to bring it to you first, with the care, curiosity, and excitement this story deserves.